So I'm super excited to talk about the business gift mindset. So really just talking about selling business gifts at the booth. So I've got the next 15, 20 minutes to talk about that. And by the way, guys, it looks like we're going to end hopefully right about on time, if not going a few minutes over just by a couple. But don't forget, we're going to try to be as quick and efficient as possible, but we will get you out of here in a very timely fashion. So I just want to talk about business gifts at the booth. I really enjoyed the call we had on our team, I think not last month, but the month before with John Colobi. And we talked about business gifts. And the fascinating thing is that he asked our team, he was here to talk to us, and he asked our team, hey, what are your biggest questions, uncertainties, fear bubbles, hesitations, concerns around selling business gifts? And for most people, it kind of sounded like, I'm just not familiar with a lot of industries. I'm just not comfortable closing on it. I'm not really as confident on the prices. I don't really know how to handle the objections. So it was just kind of a lot of like, just not knowing really what to do and exactly what to say and who to pitch to. And the funny thing is that after listening to John talk, the main point that he kept driving home to everybody constantly was just like, it's super easy. You just ask everybody. Like the key to selling a lot of business gifts is talking about business gifts with everybody. And so that was really the biggest takeaway from it, which I thought was fascinating. And so that's really what I wanted to start with, is just remember that we should be talking about it with more people than we are currently talking about it with. It was really cool because after that first call, I think both Roger and Carlton were both like, wow, within like a week or two, they're both like, wow, I just had a business gift order and I just had a lot more just because I brought it up and I talked about it and I had a lot more confidence. I think Carlton, that was the first business gift order he'd ever had, right? Is that right, Carlton? It was like shortly thereafter. He's not nodding. Oh, second. Okay. Second. All right. But still, second in your whole career. That's not too bad. So just having like that be the focus of just like, oh, I should talk to people about business gifts. If there's somebody in front of me, that should come out of my mouth at some point that we sell gifts. So key number one is just to have business gifts out in front of you. If you can have a nice little sign or something like that, that would be great. But just have a gift right in front of you, next to you. That's just like Foss was talking about. Instead of having, John mentioned this. He's like, you always have kitchen tools right next to you. And he goes like, how much are kitchen tools even worth? And how often are you even selling them? Like that should not be the thing that you've got like right next to you to talk about all the time. Like why not have a business gift there that you should be pitching and talking about? It just reminds you to talk about it. And it's just in the customer sight. And so it's going to create more conversation about what they do for a living, and it's going to create more interest from them, and it's going to remind you to talk about it when it's right next to you. So your most valuable real estate, be putting things that are related to the biggest packages we sell, to like your biggest needle movers. So that is step number one, have the business gifts. And then step number two is talk about it with everybody. So the question is super simple. It's just, hey, do you happen to own a business or give gifts to clients or employees? That's pretty much it. Hey, do you happen to own a business or do you ever give gifts to clients or employees? And like having those kind of conversations with people, whether they've just bought a package from you, whether they're a Cutco owner, whether they aren't buying anything, they were a no sale. One of my favorite just random stories, we all know that John Colobi had like $105,000 CPO business gift order, which is crazy. But the other just like random fun little anecdote that I love from John is, this guy came up to the booth and he's like, how much is a replacement paring knife? I have a set at Cutco. I lost it. John's like, it's $65. He's like, oh my gosh, for a paring knife, that's ridiculous. Okay, I'll just wait. And before he left, John goes, hey, do you happen to own a business or ever give gifts to clients or employees? And it turns out that the guy did. And he bought like $7,500 worth of cheese knives from John, a no sale who was haggling over the price of a paring knife and was walking away because he didn't want to buy it, spent that much money on his business. So there are people like that in front of us every single day. You think about somebody who buys an Ultimate from you and it's paid in full. Like, what kind of a person has that kind of income and it's like not even a big deal? Oftentimes a business owner, right? You don't often get really, really rich working for somebody else. People like that, it should be a green flag and an indication to you this would be a potential good business gift prospect. Even if they're just buying something small. I've had a showstopper and then upsold 20 petite santokus because they had a business. They didn't want a block set. They were convinced that in their kitchen, they just needed 5 knives, never heard of Cutco before, but they spun money in their business. And the biggest thing that's fun about business gifts is that these people are spending this money anyway. So as long as you can make the connection that this is a good prospect in front of you, it's actually not that hard. Once you find out this person could buy business gifts, it's not really that difficult to sell it to them because they're already buying gifts already. This is not a new expense. This is not something we're convincing them to add to their bottom line or what's going to be the big get here? What's going to be the ROI if I add this $10,000 to my annual expense? Marketing and gifts and things like that is already in their budget. All that we're doing is telling them that, hey, instead of buying something that's not useful or that is consumable, let's refocus that money. Let's pivot. Let's make sure that we're taking that same amount you're spending and just putting it towards something that's a little bit more strategic for you. So when you're talking about gifts, ask everybody, really, because you never know. I even just at the Iowa State Fair this last week, I had a lady who, I said, oh, by the way, do you ever give gifts to clients, employees, or happen to own a business? And she said, no, I don't have a business. But she said, my brother passed away about 10 years ago. And she said, we created a scholarship fund in his name. And every year we do big fundraising for it. And she said, we give like a nice, like $100, $150 gift to like the top 10 donors. And these people donate money. And then that goes into scholarship funds that get, awarded to college kids, right? In her brother's name who passed away. So she's like, oh, this would be perfect. She goes, we have a logo and everything. So she's like, I think we could do probably pocket knives. And she had another family member that they kind of make those decisions together. So, I got her information and we're going to follow up on that. But that was just such a random thing to me that it's like, she's not a business owner. She, doesn't really have anything work related that would be good for that. But as soon as I brought up the idea of it, in her mind, she's like, oh, I do have something in my life that we, purchase $100, $150 gifts for, that we put a logo on, that this would be perfect for. So things like that manifest in all kinds of weird ways. Tons of different industries, tons of different situations. You'll find that business gifts apply really, really well for in a unique situation. That's a great opportunity for us that I think a lot of us just aren't really focused on with every customer. So that was a cool thing. Even like Josh Mueller at the party for, the 4th of July party, to the biggest donor, they usually do the cutting board, right? With the logo on it, with the Front Row Foundation logo on it. So, that kind of stuff, like that's in our lives. People are doing things like that on a consistent basis. So that's a good opportunity for us to remember, that there's lots of different ways people can use and buy gifts for clients, for employees, and all kinds of different ways. So, what you should be talking about. So for me, the number one time that I remember to do it is as I'm writing up the order form. That's when I'm kind of chatting a little bit about, oh, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, by the way, do you happen to own a business or give gifts to clients or employees? And that's the easiest time to me to kind of transition into talking about business gifts. But I'd like to make it a priority to bring it up a little bit sooner so that even somebody who's not ordering necessarily knows about it. So that's one of my goals for this year, is to bring it up a little bit, kind of like when Matt's talking about introing some of the packages in the beginning. That needs to be something that I'm mentioning beforehand, so that before they leave, if they're like, oh yeah, I probably don't need any more knives, or yeah, I'm good on my cookware, but hey, you mentioned something about businesses and I have a business. So what do you guys do for businesses? Like those are the kind of conversations that I want to be having to plant those seeds early, so that people are asking me about how we can serve them and how we can assist them and how we can add value to their business in some way, instead of just kind of me pitching it at the end, kind of catching them off guard and throwing them off a little bit. So what to talk about with customers? That's always the question. Like, hey, what do I actually say to them? So the easiest way to pitch, if you've ever gone through the CGC program, if you've ever looked at any scripts, it's all pretty basic. We just talk about, people love that Cutco is high quality, but more importantly, most business owners care about how it's going to affect their business on a daily, quarterly, annual basis, right? So the things they care about, the fact that they're tax deductible, the fact that it creates a system in place, for their business. They're not having to think about gifts or put something together. The fact that it's branding them long term, right? Those are the kind of things they care about. So the things that I kind of say to customers are, yeah, well, just so you know, obviously the Cutco product. As you know, Cutco's like the Rolex of kitchen knives. They're American made, they're guaranteed forever, they're safe to go in the dishwasher. It's just the highest quality stuff you can get. So what we do is we take that really awesome Cutco product and then we engrave your information right there on the piece. So what this does is it turns your regular client gift into a long-term branding tool for you. A lot of people give a gift at the end of a transaction, but most of the time people tend to gravitate towards things that end up being consumable, like gift cards, bottles of wine, gift baskets. It's not to say that your clients don't like and appreciate those things. It's just that doesn't do much for you long-term. Those things get eaten, spent, used up, and then they're forgotten about. A lot of other gifts are nice, but maybe they just kind of end up sitting somewhere and not really doing anything. The thing that my customers love about giving Cutco is that those knives get used every single day, right? This is like having a billboard advertising in your customer's kitchen on a daily basis, because nobody, I'm sure as you know, nobody has good sharp knives in their kitchen. So even just getting them 1 or 2 pieces of Cutco is going to be the sharpest knife in their kitchen, and they're going to use it on a daily basis. Plus, it's in the kitchen. So where are most people hanging out in the house anyway when people come over? In the kitchen. So not only are your clients being exposed to this, but also their friends and family. And that naturally sparks conversation about you and your services. And they'll always have your information handy because it's right there on the piece. This is the business card that's safe to go in the dishwasher. They're never going to throw it away and they're never going to forget it. Right? So the great thing is everything is going to be 100% tax deductible. So you can write everything off because it's typically considered an advertising or marketing expense. And again, the great thing about it, Mr. Jones, is that this is an expense you're already spending. You're already getting gifts for clients. So this is already something that you're doing. We just want to take that same money that you're already spending and just make it work harder for you. We want to make it more efficient and more effective. We want to make sure that it's getting your name out there, consistently branding you for years and years and years after you've initially given it. Right? And the thing that my customers love more than anything, they love that when they give it to their clients, like it's great and they're sharp and they love them and they use them every day. The things my customers love most is that we create a system in place for their business. Because to be quite honest, most people are running around trying to put together a gift of some kind, trying to put together a gift basket, standing in line at Home Depot for gift cards. That's not worth your time. It's not even worth your assistant's time, to be quite frank. Let us do the work for you. We get everything set up, situated for you. We ship all of your gifts to you up front, and then you have them on hand ready to give out. So whenever you have clients, whenever you have referrals, whenever you get hit up for like a charity or auction gift, you have something on hand ready to go, ready to give out that's going to brand you to everybody. So it's really nice not having to think about it. And whenever you run out of gifts, you just call me and we order more. So pretty simple. So that's kind of the intro that I give people. And then from there, typically the things we want to find out, because when you think about from your customer's perspective, the biggest reason they're not buying business gifts right away, like at the booth typically, is because they have a lot of decisions to make and a lot of things to kind of work through in their mind. They're like, how would we use this in our business? How many would we need? What should we be spending? What pieces? What colors? There's a lot of things kind of up in the air. So the simpler we can make it and we can help them make just one decision at a time, then the easier it's going to be. That's why when we're soft closing with people, we ask, so do you like black or white? Do you like honey or cherry? Do you like this set or this set? Would you do it on the 5 pair, do it in full? Because the more questions we can get people to answer, the closer they are, the more we're narrowed in on like what their real desire is. And then the more decisions they've already made, it just makes them easier to say yes. Because when people are like, oh, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. I'll take a card and leave. And you're like, well, you're not going to think about it when you leave, Mrs. Jones. We have the information right here. We should make a decision. That's what people struggle with business gifts, is there's like so much to think about. So the best thing to do is just try to handle as many of the objections and questions as possible. So the first thing I like to figure out is what price point, so, hey, Mrs. Jones, so what are you typically spending on a gift now for clients? That's the question I ask, because if they're spending $200, then I have great gifts in the $200 price point. If they're spending less than $100, I have great gifts in the less than $100 price point. But I don't want to sell somebody on something that's way out of their budget. If they're spending $100 now, I don't want to show them the $200 gifts, because that's going to create more questions in their mind. It's great if I can say, you're already spending $100. Let's spend $100. Let's just do better gifts. that's an easy yes, right? And then I'll try to upsell them more later. Like after we get the yes and the credit card, then it's like, hey, by the way, do you ever consider doing a little bit more for like your top tier clients, right? Can I show you some of our nicer packages? Maybe you wouldn't give to everybody, but maybe like your top 10, 20%. But I'm going to start with trying to get them in the same budget that they're already spending. So I ask them, what are you typically spending on a gift for a client? And it's not what gifts are you giving, because then they'll try to sell you on like, oh, well, I give gift cards, but my customers really like them because X, Y, Z. And I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want to know what you're spending so I can sell you cut code that's the same price. That is the goal. So asking for numbers is what we need. And then I try to figure out what combination of pieces they like. So, okay, awesome. So you're giving gifts for around $150. Here are a couple things I would suggest. So these are the main pieces that we sell as part of our gift packages. The reason is because we wanted pieces that your customers are going to use on a daily basis, and pieces that are great for engraving. That's why we didn't pick all of our knives for our business gifts, just our best sellers. And so I'm pre-handling that objection of people being like, oh, are they going to use the spreaders or are they going to use the scissors? It's like, hey, we've done the research. We've been selling Cutco for 70 years, and this is what people will use every single day, but is still going to be good for you to engrave on. That's why we don't engrave the paring knives, and that's why we don't do the cleavers, right? Great for engraving, not going to get used every day. So we narrow it down, and I just kind of ask, yeah, so here are the chopping knives, here's the spreader, here's the scissors. I'll cut the penny for them if they don't know about Cutco already. And I'll say, cool, so which gift do you kind of like best? And then they tell me, oh, I like the scissor spreader set. Okay, great. Now we have a price point. Now we have pieces that we picked out. We picked out a gift set. Then we got to figure out what quantity they need. So once they decide a price point, how many customers are they going to have this year? They're going to fall into that category. So obviously there's kind of I always tell people, hey, Mrs. Jones, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but over the next 6 to 12 months, how many clients do you estimate you'd probably have that would warrant a gift of this size? And they can tell you, and I even say sometimes if they're really unsure, I'm like, hey, listen, I know you don't really know right now. The nice thing is if we, get you a few too many, they're not going to expire. So you can just keep using them until you run out. If we get you a few too less, you can just call me and order more. So we don't have to have an exact number, but just a ballpark, like 10, 20, 100. And I throw numbers out, and then they're like, oh, probably closer to 20. Cool. Now we know what we're working with. So that's pretty simple. You just have to help them work through, because they're kind of like, they almost want to go back and add it up. Like, well, based on last year, we had like 17. That doesn't matter. I just want a general idea. And then we pick the pieces. So great. Sorry, we already did that, pieces. Quantity. Oh, then I ask what color. So cool. So what color do you like, by the way? Do you like red, black, white? Oh, okay. And then whatever they say, like, oh yeah, I like the dark. Yeah, the dark is called classic. That's our best seller. If your clients were here, they would probably pick the dark because it'll match their kitchen. Like, you want to affirm whatever they pick. Oh, I like the red. I know, right? It's fun. It stands out. They'll always see it in the drawer. Red is definitely the most unique. Like, just frame it as a positive choice, right? Anything they pick, you compliment. Same thing. Oh yeah, the spreader. They'll use that every day for sandwiches and stuff like that. Everybody needs a good pair of scissors, Mrs. Jones. All right. And then we just create urgency, right? We show them the price sheets. Hopefully you have. If you haven't, you should get them. John Cloby does the price sheets, the lists that has them out by quantity. So each gift, it has, if you ordered 10 of these, 20 of these, 50 of these, 100 of these, 1,000 of these, it tells you the breakdown, and each time the price per unit gets less and less and less. So the great thing to offer is, hey, while we're at the fair, we actually, instead of, I know you're only looking at 20 gifts, but we actually would give you the price per unit of the 50 gifts. So, instead of, 20 gifts, I don't know, it's, $100 a piece. But at 50 gifts, it breaks down to only, $90 a piece. So we're actually going to give you the quantity break at the 50 level, even though you're only getting 20. That's kind of how that like urgency creating works, where we offer them that extra special deal. The nice thing, guys, on the back end for us, that is maybe bonusing one piece. So they're really nicely set up where they go down in price, but it's not a lot of it's not a ton of bonusing for us. It's not like they're only paying for 15. Like, they're still paying for like 19 of them and getting one for free, which is great. But things like the $50 setup fee and the $50 shipping just get amortized over more gifts. So you see the price going down. And then as you get up higher, then you like bonus 1 or 2 knives, and that makes the price go down even more. So Super simple. The main thing, guys, I'm about out of time here, is just to ask everybody. And then your salespeople, like, you know how to create urgency. You know how to offer an extra special deal. Hey, Mrs. Jones, like, I just got to ask, is this something you see yourself doing at some point down the road? Like, you like this idea, this fits your business, you like the price point, this is the set you would get. Like, I confirm all of that stuff. And then it's just like Matt said, okay, great. So like, instead of doing it later, if I could just get you something like extra special, would you just be open to just pulling the trigger on this now? And just getting this done and just getting this checked off your list so you can move on to other things in your business. And people love that, right? Because we're business people. And anytime somebody gives me the opportunity to check something off of my list, I'm like, take my money. Yes, absolutely. Let's get this done. All right. So just encourage people for that. Give them an extra deal and help close them on the spot. So that's business gifts.